So metallic element in period 3, when you check period 3, the first period is hydrogen and helium, second lithium, beryllium, third one we have sodium and magnesium. So metallic element, you can write about sodium, you can write even magnesium. Identify element whose atom contains 14 proton. Atomic number 14. Which element is having atomic number 14? When you check the periodic table, you'll find silicon is having atomic number 14. Identify element whose atom have electronic structure 2 and 5. So means atomic number 7. So atomic number 7, when you check the periodic table, that is nitrogen, because nitrogen is 7 and 14. Give the name of a compound formed between oxygen and the element with atomic number 13. Atomic number 13, when you check atomic number 13, that's aluminium. So aluminium react with oxygen, what it will form? It will form aluminium oxide. The position of an element in the periodic table can be used to predict its properties. Which group contain elements that are all unreactive? So what could be the right answer? Which group contain all the elements? So D is the right answer. They don't have separate paper for MCQs. In the same paper, they have MCQs as well. And both paper 1 and paper 2 are having MCQ structure and alternative to practical question. That's why the duration is 2 hours. Uh, which of these uh, which of these is the least reactive element in group 1? So least reactive, when we go down the group, the reactivity increases for group 1. So which is one is at the top of the group. Lithium is in the top because they're asking for least reactive. That's why it is lithium. As we go down group 1, the reactivity increases. Question 2a. The boxes listed changes that may happen in a lab and name some of the changes. Draw one straight line from each change to correct. So ice turning into water, what we call an ice is turning into water. We call that as melting. A solid carbon dioxide turned directly into gas. A solid carbon dioxide is turning directly into gas. So we call that as sublimation. A solute is stirred into a solvent, dissolve or mix in solvent, so we call that as dissolving. A student has two solids X and Y. One of these solid is a pure and another one is a mixture. Describe how a student could identify which solid is pure and which is a mixture by measuring a physical property for each solid. So what student can do, it's a solid, so a student can measure the melting point. The pure substance will have a sharp melting point where impure substance melt for range of temperature, or it will have a lower melting point than the pure substance. This question is about metal. Metals can be arranged in a reactivity series based on their reaction with water and their reaction with dilute hydrochloric acid. The table shows four metals P, Q, R, and S react with water and dilute hydrochloric acid. Identify which metal should be gold. So metal Q should be gold because it is unreact. Suggest why the reaction between metal R and hydrochloric acid was not done. So why the reaction between metal R and because it is hydrogen gas is formed very quickly. So it is a very reactive metal. Yeah, a very reactive metal. Then it will release hydrogen gas, and the apparatus might explode, or a violent reaction. The HCl might come out from the flask. Use the information in the table to place the metal in order of the reactivity. The most reactive first. So which one is the most reactive? In this, when you can check the table, the most reactive, that is R, followed by S, then P, and at the last Q will be there. Zinc is used to coat iron gates to prevent iron from rusting. State the name of this method of preventing iron from rusting. We call that as galvanization. Or state another method of preventing iron from rust so we can paint. By painting we can prevent. A mixture of zinc powder and copper 2 oxide is heated. State how the reaction shows zinc is more reactive than copper because it displaces the copper. So it shows that zinc is more reactive than copper. Explain which substance is oxidizing agent. The term oxidizing agent itself, it is reduced. So which substance is reduced? Like here we have zinc 0, it becomes +2, and copper is +2, it becomes 0. So a substance which is reduced, copper is reduced. So if copper is reduced, it is acting like an oxidizing agent. So, or we can write copper or iron, or we can write copper oxide as oxidizing agent. Because zinc is oxidized. Why zinc is oxidized? Because it reacted with copper oxide. So copper oxide is an agent which is helping zinc to be oxidized. That's why we call that as oxidizing agent. And normally for a substance which oxidation happen, that's a reducing agent, and for which reduction happen, that is an oxidizing agent. Sodium hydroxide dissolved in water forms strongly alkaline solution. Ammonia dissolved in water forms slightly less alkaline. Identify the ion that makes sodium hydroxide solution alkaline. So sodium hydroxide, the hydroxide ion is there. What is the pH of ammonia solution? Just now we did in the Cambridge paper that predicting the pH. So that is 11. When ammonia solution reacted with dilute with sulfuric acid, a neutralization reaction occurs and ammonium sulfate is formed. How does sulfuric acid act? So they give you the answer, they mention sulfuric acid. So what is the definition of acid? Acids are proton donor. So it donate protons. The diagram shows a beaker containing some ammonia gas. Few drops of phenolphthalein indicator is added. Phenolphthalein is colorless in acidic medium and alkaline. In alkaline solution, it is pink. Dilute sulfuric acid is added. So we have ammonia solution. We are adding a dilute sulfuric acid until it is in excess. So now the solution is more acidic. What are the color changes of phenolphthalein before? So phenolphthalein is pink initially, but when we add too much, all of the alkali is used up, it become acidic. So in acidic it is colorless. Ammonium sulfate is used by gardeners as fertilizers because it contains nitrogen. Explain why the chemical formula of ammonium sulfate is NH4 bracket 2 SO4 refers to the charges on the ions. So why the formula is NH4 2 SO4? Because ammonium valency or charge is +1 and sulfate valency is -2. So when we simplify and cross multiply the valencies, that's why the formula will be NH2 SO4. What is the relative molecular mass of ammonium sulfate? Relative molecular mass means just the mass of the molecule. So nitrogen is 14 multiplied by 2 plus hydrogen is 1 multiplied by 8 plus sulfur is 32 plus oxygen is 16 multiplied by 4. So 28 plus 8 36, 38 36 plus 32, so it will be 78 and 78 plus 64, so that's 130. Calculate the mass in gram of nitrogen in 1 kilogram of ammonium sulfate. So how we can find the mass of nitrogen in 1 kilogram of ammonium sulfate? You can use simply the ratio you can use. Look, this is ammonium sulfate, NH4 in a bracket 2 SO4. And how much nitrogen is there? There are 2 nitrogen. So if we have 132 grams of ammonium sulfate, you will have how much? 14 multiplied by 2, that is 28 grams of nitrogen. If you have 1 kilogram or 1000 grams, then it will be X. Cross multiply, you will get the mass in gram for nitrogen. What's the answer? 1000 multiplied by 28 divided by 132. 212.1 grams will be there. Or 212 we can write only. Because one molecule of ammonium sulfate contains 2 nitrogen means 28 gram of nitrogen. So if it is 1000 gram of ammonium sulfate, then it will be X grams of nitrogen. Chlorine, bromine, and iodine are elements in a periodic table. How the position of these elements depends on their electronic structure. So they all contain 7 electrons in the last shell. That is why they are all placed in group 7. 7 electron in the outermost shell. That's why all are placed in group 7. Chlorine react with methane to form chloromethane and HCl. State the condition for this reaction. What are the conditions for substitution? It is UV. Write equation for this reaction. So basically methane is reacting. Methane is CH4 is reacting with chlorine. So it will form chloromethane plus HCl. The bonds in molecule of CH3Cl are covalent. Explain in terms of electrostatic attraction what is meant by covalent bond. The term the bond which is formed by sharing of electron, but we have to mention electrostatic attraction. So an electrons and the shared electron held together by attractive electrostatic force by the nucleus. Because what happened, like if I say hydrogen contain one proton, one electron. There will be another hydrogen which also contain one proton. They will share electron. But how these electrons are like charges, they repel each other. So how these electrons are held together, the nucleus is actually keeping this, attracting this electron, so which is binding the or keeping the two hydrogen intact with each other. Like electron of first atom is attracted by a nucleus of the second atom, and electron of second atom is attracted by the nucleus of first atom. Draw dot and cross diagram. Carbon belongs to group 6, so it will, sorry, by mistake. Carbon belongs to group 4, it will share 4 electron. Chlorine belongs to group 7, it will share 1, and hydrogen will also share 1. But chlorine there belongs to group 7, so there should be 6 unshared electron on chlorine. CH3Cl is a simple molecular. Why the boiling point is lower? Because weak attraction, weak intermolecular forces, so required less energy. Less energy to separate the molecules from each other. That's why it is having a low. Yeah, this is chloromethane, because one carbon is there. That's why it is chloromethane. If there was C3H7 and Cl, then it is chloropropane. Graphite is another substance that contain a covalent bond. The diagram shows the structure of a graphite. Most covalent substances do not conduct electricity. Why graphite is able to conduct electricity? Because it is having a weak layers between the forces, and there is a free electron in the structure which can move. So there is a free electron in the structure which can move throughout the structure. That's why graphite can conduct electricity. The table shows the molecular formula of 6 organic compounds. Explain which homologous series. So which homologous series they belongs to? C2H4, C2H6, like compound B belongs to. B belongs to alkane. Give the letter of the compound that has same empirical formula as its molecular formula. Which compound empirical and molecular formula is same? Look, when I write the empirical formula for A, it will be CH2. When I write for B, it will be CH3. When I write for C, it will be CH2. I cannot further simplify D. I can simplify E, 1 is to 2. I can simplify F as well, 2 is to 5. So D is having a same molecular and empirical formula. Empirical formula shows the simplest ratio. So D is the right answer. Compound F exists in 2 isomers. Explain what is meant by isomer. They have same molecular formula but different structure. We call them as isomers. Include the structure of F. So F is basically butane is there. Just now we drew butane. One was normal straight chain butane. Another one was 2-methyl butane. Describe how compound D can be obtained from crude oil using the industrial process of fraction distillation. Compound D is what? It is propane. So fraction distillation of a crude oil, the 4 mark, it's like those who are appearing for red Excel, they know that you have to write crude oil is heated, and crude oil is a mixture of hydrocarbon, and we can separate on the basis of the boiling point. The boiling point depends on the number of the carbon atoms in molecule. So C3H8 will have a low boiling point as less carbon, so it will be collected at the top of the furnace. Compound C can be used to make a polymer. State type of polymer, compound C. Compound C is an alkene. Which kind of polymer is formed by alkenes? C3H6 propene. So type of polymer is called addition, and name of the polymer, because it is propene, so it will form polypropene. Then draw the structure of polypropene. First, what you will do, you will rearrange the structure of monomer, because monomer is propene, so C double bonded with C. I will put one carbon up, then hydrogen, hydrogen, and hydrogen. So this is propene. This is a monomer. To draw a polymer, what I will do, I will draw the same structure, but without a double bond, and I will repeat the units. Include displayed formula, repeat unit. And put bracket and N. Dilute hydrochloric acid react with a solution of a sodium thiosulfate. A precipitate is formed. State the name of precipitate. Precipitate means when we mix two or more solutions, a solid is formed. So the solid, as you can see the state symbol, sulfur is a solid. So sulfur is actually the PPT. The diagram is often used, so you can clearly see this question is related to ATP, what you are taking as the paper 6 alternative to practical. The diagram shows the apparatus a student uses it to investigate the effect of temperature on the rate of the reaction. Student pour 50 cm cube of cold sodium thiosulfate. He put a cross, then add 5 cm cube and look at the cross and record the time it will take. Student repeat the procedure 4 times using a sodium thiosulfate solution at different temperatures each time. He keeps the volume of sodium thiosulfate and hydrochloric acid constant. Which two other factors that student should keep constant as well? What other factors student should keep constant? Yeah, same conical flask, same depth of the flask, and concentration of HCl. Then temperature, time is there. Suggest a reason why the result might not be accurate as a temperature higher than 60. So time for cross cannot be seen as changing. If we use the temperature higher than 60, why the result might not be accurate, because what happened, as the time interval is short, the percentage error is higher, or the reaction time is also there. That's why result might not be accurate. Then rate is 1 over time period. Using a time, you will find the rate, and then you have to draw the curve according to the table. The remaining part is from the curve. Describe a relation between rate of reaction and temperature shown by the graph. Obvious it will be directly proportional. And explain the term curve of best line, what they mean, because draw a curve of best fit line. What will happen, as you can see the rate of the reaction and temperature, it will be like this. So you have to try to join maximum points on the line. That's why they are saying draw a curve of best line, so that you can join the maximum points. Explain in terms of particle theory the effect that increasing the temperature increase the number of the collision and increase the number of the molecules have energy more than activation energy. That is why the reaction rate will increase. A student uses his apparatus to investigate the heat energy change when a salt is dissolved. This part, the formula part, you're taking in physics, uh, not in chemistry, but they are taking enthalpy change as well. Question 9, sodium carbonate is also known as a baking soda. A baking soda can be used to make cakes increase the size in oven. This is the equation for a reaction that takes place when baking soda is heated. What type of reaction is this? Sodium carbonate, what we call this reaction. So it's a thermal decomposition or decomposition. Suggests why reaction make the cake increase in size. So why the cake increase in size when you add a baking soda? Because due to heat from the oven, it releases carbon dioxide. That's why the gas is released, CO2 is released. That's why the size of the cake will increase as well. A student uses the apparatus to investigate the reaction that takes place when sodium hydrogen carbonate is heated. Weigh the crucible and record the mass. So when sodium hydrogen carbonate is heated, what we are finding out what happened. As you can see, the equation is given. It gives sodium carbonate, carbon dioxide, and water. Add some sodium hydrogen carbonate, then heat the crucible and heat a crucible and content again for 3 minutes. What is the reason why we continue on heating? We always try to heat till the constant mass to make sure that all of the sodium hydrogen carbonate has decomposed. Because when the mass is constant and we heat it again and then cool down and reweigh again, so the mass does not change to make sure that all of the sodium hydrogen carbonate has decomposed. The student considered using a lid on a crucible, suggests an advantage and disadvantage of using a lid. So advantage of using a lid, what it will do, it will protect this, like reduce the chance of, because when we are heating a solid, that what will happen, yeah, it will, the advantage is that it will keep the heat, also it will trap the heat. But second advantage is that it will prevent the loss of solid by spitting of the solid. The solid due to heat might decompose and spit out from the crucible, so it protect that. And disadvantage, if we don't have the lid, the heat will be lost to the surroundings, so it will not have enough heat to decompose. The table shows some of the student result, the mass of a crucible and sodium hydrogen carbonate, and empty crucible. What is the mass of sodium hydrogen carbonate? So you'll take a difference, you'll get the mass of sodium hydrogen carbonate. And use the equation, calculate the maximum mass of sodium carbonate that could be formed. So how we can use this equation? This is related to moles part. Look, what is the difference of 29.7 minus 26.5? What is the difference of these two numbers? 29.75 minus 26.5. That is the mass of sodium, 3.25. So 3.25 grams of sodium hydrogen carbonate. We need mass of sodium carbonate. First we'll get the moles. Moles equal mass in gram over molar mass. So 3.25 divided by sodium hydrogen carbonate, molar mass is 84. How many moles are there for sodium hydrogen carbonate? 3.25 divided by 84. 0.0387. These are the moles of sodium hydrogen carbonate, and from sodium hydrogen carbonate we can get the moles of sodium carbonate. The ratio is 2:1. So this will be X cross multiply. So the number of moles of sodium carbonate is half of sodium hydrogen carbonate. So this will be divided by 2. So 0.0387 divided by 2. What's the answer? 0.0194. And that's the moles of sodium carbonate multiplied by molar mass, which is given 160. So this will be multiplied by 160. So 0.0194 times 160. What is the mass in gram? 3.10 or 4 or 3.10 grams of sodium carbonate is formed from sodium hydrogen carbonate. In second experiment, the student uses a larger mass of sodium hydrogen carbonate. She calculated that she should obtain 4.8 gram of sodium hydrogen carbonate. So 4.8 grams of sodium carbonate. She actually obtained 4.2. What is the percentage yield? Percentage yield is a practical value. So practically she's getting 4.2, but theoretically she should get 4.8 and multiplied by 100. So 87.5% is a yield. Other than spillage, suggests a possible reason why the student actual yield is less than the expected value, other than like maybe the spillage in the mass. What could be the other reason why she's getting a different answer? The chances that maybe not all of the sodium hydrogen carbonate, as there is a loss. So what happened? We assume that the water is lost from it, but maybe the water might condenses, or the second thing is that this sodium carbonate, the question is why we are not getting the same yield. According, we should get 4.8, but we are getting only 4.2 of sodium carbonate. So one possibility, reaction might not be complete. That is one possibility, to get a yield less than 100%. Question 10. The table gives an information about some lead compounds. When a sample of red lead oxide is heated, it changes to yellow solid and a gas is formed that relight a glowing splint. Complete the equation. So lead oxide is heated, it is forming a yellow solid. Which one is a yellow solid? So lead oxide, lead 2 oxide, red lead oxide changed to lead 2 oxide plus oxygen. Because they mentioned this, and a glowing split relined, so that's oxygen gas is there, word equation. Then a sample of one of the oxide, lead contain 86.6% lead and 13.4% oxygen. Calculate, by calculation show that lead 4 oxide is PbO. So basically we need a simplest ratio for lead and oxygen, 86.6 and oxygen is 13.4. Atomic number of lead, I think 206, but what is given actual number is Pb 207. So you will take that 207. So they gave you the answer that final answer should be PbO2, and oxygen will be, oxygen is 16. You'll divide by atomic mass, then you'll divide by smallest value and round off. So you will get the simplest ratio of lead and oxygen will be 1:2. Red lead oxide react with warm dilute nitric acid. Complete equation. You have to balance this equation. And the last part, student, yeah, what will be the balanced number? Lead 3, lead 4 oxide, reacting with nitric acid, give lead nitrate plus lead oxide plus water. These are the state symbols. Look, these are what is written here is a state symbol. So this is solid, aqueous, solid, and liquid is there. What about lead? What number I should place? Because three lead are there, one is already there, so I should put 2. Why 2? Because already here we have 3 lead, so one is already there, so that's why I put 2. And what about hydrogen? 4 hydrogen, so I need 4, so that's why I will put 2. And the last student is given a sample of solid red lead oxide and some dilute nitric acid. How student could obtain pure dry sample of lead 2 nitrate? So you want lead 2 nitrate. So in this case, what we have to do, we will add excess of lead oxide to nitric acid, but we will have two solid, unreacted red lead oxide and lead oxide as well. Then we will filter, then we will heat, concentrate, cool and dry to obtain the salt. Is it clear? Because this is solid and the product also solid. So we'll use excess. When we use excess, so nitric acid will be used up. Then we will filter to remove both of them. We are left with lead nitrate solution. So how to obtain crystals? Heat, concentrate, cool, filter and then dry. So this was a 2 hours paper with the total marks of 110. So you find a similar, this is similar to that of Cambridge. Whole content, you don't find anything out of even the Cambridge syllabus. The only difference is that they're giving 2 papers and it's a mix. Like MCQs are also there in between, MCQs, structured questions as well as alternative to practical questions. Any question related to the class today? Regarding the mock exam, I will make a video and share with you as soon I'll get the time. So I'll end the session and share this with you.